fall asleep with the ghosts of Rome's greatest battles. Let's set the scene. Sound of wind over a quiet, sun-drenched field. It's quiet now, peaceful, but if you listen closely, faint, ghostly sounds of battle begin to build. Distant shouts, the clash of steel. You can almost hear them, the ghosts of Rome. This isn't just a field in southern Italy. This is a tomb, the final resting place for tens of thousands of Roman soldiers who marched straight into a perfect trap on a day that would become the benchmark for military disaster. This is Cannae, and its story is a brutal lesson in the price of pride. If you really want to understand Rome, to grasp the sheer force of will that forged an empire, you can't just celebrate its triumphs. You have to be willing to walk its bloodiest fields. You have to sleep with the ghosts of its greatest battles. For over 1,000 years, Rome's story was written on the battlefield. From the hills of Italy to the forests of Germania and the plains of Africa, the legions marched, conquered, and sometimes were utterly broken. These places aren't just empty landscapes. They are scars on the face of the earth, imprinted with the echoes of history. So today, we're going back to 3 of them. We'll explore a catastrophic defeat that nearly ended Rome, a victory so total it erased a civilization, and an ambush that showed an empire its limits. Section 1, The Ghost of Pride, Cannae, 216 BCE. Our first stop brings us here, to the plains of Apulia in southern Italy, near the modern village of Can della Battaglia. A single column stands watch over these fields, a quiet memorial to what was, and still is, Rome's greatest single-day loss. In 216 BCE, Rome was panicking. The Carthaginian general, Hannibal Barca, had done the unthinkable. He'd marched his army from Spain, over the Alps, and right into Italy, bringing the war to Rome's front door. He'd already handed the Republic 2 humiliating defeats at the battles of Trebia and Lake Trasimene. Furious and desperate, the Roman Senate decided to crush Hannibal once and for all. They amassed what may have been the largest army in their history. 8 full legions, a force some estimate at around 80,000 men. The Roman plan was simple. Overwhelm the enemy with sheer numbers. Brute force. The 2 consuls in command, Varro and Paulus, packed their heavy infantry into a deep, dense formation designed to hammer through the Carthaginian center. As the battle kicked off, it looked like the plan was working perfectly. The Roman legions surged forward, pushing back Hannibal's line of Spanish and Gallic troops. But it wasn't a retreat. It was a trap. Hannibal had deliberately put his weakest troops in the center and told them to give ground slowly. As the Romans pushed forward, they were drawn deeper and deeper into a U-shaped pocket. Then, the veteran African infantry that Hannibal had held on the flanks wheeled inwards, slamming into the exposed sides of the Roman lines. At the same time, Hannibal's superior cavalry, having already routed their Roman counterparts, circled around and attacked the legions from behind. The trap was sprung. The Roman army was completely encircled. What happened next wasn't a battle. It was an industrial-scale slaughter that went on for 8 hours. Packed so tightly they could barely lift their arms to swing a sword. The legionaries were cut down, row by row. Ancient historians like Livy and Polybius give figures ranging from 50,000 to 70,000 Romans killed or captured. While modern estimates are sometimes more conservative, there's no doubt the loss was catastrophic. The ghost of Cannae is the ghost of hubris. It taught Rome that courage without strategy is just a suicide. Yet, in the wake of this crushing disaster, Rome didn't surrender. It endured. It didn't happen overnight, but Rome slowly abandoned its reckless aggression for a new war of attrition, known as the Fabian strategy. This field is a tomb, yes, but it's also a cradle, a place where the stubborn, unyielding spirit of the later Roman Empire was forged in its darkest hour. Section 2, The Ghost of Annihilation, Carthage, 146 BCE. Next, we travel from a field of defeat in Italy to a scene of total victory in North Africa. Today, the ruins of ancient Carthage are a sprawling archaeological site near modern Tunis. It's here, among the foundations of Roman villas, that you can find what left of a city that was once Rome's greatest rival. The Third Punic War wasn't a fair fight. It was an act of extermination. Decades had passed since Hannibal's war in Italy, but the terror he'd inspired in Rome was still alive and well. For years, the influential statesman Cato the Elder had ended every single one of his speeches in the Senate with the same chilling phrase, Carthago delenda est. Carthage must be destroyed. In 149 BCE, Rome got the excuse it was looking for. The final war began. It all came to a head here in 146 BCE with a brutal siege led by the Roman general Scipio Aemilianus, a man who would later be known as Scipio Africanus the Younger. After defeating the main Carthaginian army, Scipio set his sights on the city itself. For days, the legions fought their way through Carthage, street by street, house by house. The fighting was merciless. The historian Appian tells us the Romans gave no quarter, slaughtering the inhabitants where they stood. The city that had once commanded a maritime empire was torn apart. The story goes that after the killing was done, the Romans sowed the ground with salt, a final curse to ensure nothing would ever grow here again. While there's no ancient evidence for this, and it's likely a later myth, the legend itself tells you everything you need to know about Roman ruthlessness. The destruction of Carthage marked the dawn of Rome's undisputed mastery of the Mediterranean. There were no rivals left. The ghost that haunts this place isn't one of defeat, but of absolute, terrifying victory. It's the ghost of what happens when Roman persistence becomes Roman brutality. Walking through these ruins, you don't just feel the weight of a fallen city. You feel the chilling power that brought it to its knees. Section 3, The Ghost of Limits, Teutoburg Forest, 9 CE. Our final journey takes us north into the deep, dark forests of modern Germany, near the site of Kalkries. It was here, in 9 CE, that 3 of Rome's best legions, the 17th, 18th, and 19th, walked into the woods and vanished from history. Under the Emperor Augustus, Rome's ambition was to push its border from the Rhine River all the way to the Elbe. The general Publius Quintilius Varus was sent to pacify the fierce Germanic tribes living there. He marched into the heart of Germania with an army of around 20,000 men. His chief advisor, a man he trusted completely, was a young German nobleman named Arminius. Arminius had been raised in Rome, granted citizenship, and even served in the Roman military. But that trust was a lie. Arminius was secretly uniting the tribes to throw the Romans out for good. As Varus's army snaked through the dense Teutoburg forest, Arminius led them straight into a perfectly planned ambush. Over several days, in pouring rain and on muddy, treacherous ground, the long column of Roman soldiers was systematically cut to pieces. Hidden in the woods, Germanic warriors launched attack after attack. The legions, unable to get into their famous battle formations, were simply overwhelmed. Archaeological finds at Kalkries paint a grim picture of the final, desperate moments. Thousands of Roman artifacts have been dug up, hobnails from sandals, broken armor, spearheads, and coins stamped with Varus's name. Human remains show the telltale signs of brutal, close-quarters combat. In the end, Varus and his officers took their own lives rather than be captured. An entire Roman army was wiped out. When the news reached Rome, Emperor Augustus was said to be inconsolable, banging his head against a wall and screaming, "Quintilius Varus, give me back my legions. The ghost of the Teutoburg forest is the ghost of a boundary. It represents the hard limit of Roman power. These woods swallowed 3 legions whole and taught the empire that not all lands could be conquered and not all people could be Romanized. The defeat was so total that Rome never again made a serious attempt to conquer Germania east of the Rhine. This forest became the line that couldn't be crossed, a permanent reminder that even the greatest empire on earth has its limits, from the sun-scorched fields of Connaught to the haunted forests of Germany. These battlegrounds are more than just dusty footnotes. They are monuments to pride, annihilation, and limitation. They're where the Roman Empire was truly forged, not just in the fires of victory, but in the crucible of its most shattering defeats. The ghosts of the legions are still here, whispering their stories to anyone willing to listen. They remind us that empires are built with more than stone. They're built on the bones of soldiers and cemented with the lessons of their sacrifice. If you want to keep exploring these stories buried in the landscape, the best way to help us is by hitting that subscribe button and liking the video. We're a small team, and your support is what allows us to keep the ghosts of history alive.